tonight is, the first thing I want to do actually is a bit of a disclaimer. What tonight is not, is me saying that I've cracked this, and me saying, can I go on, that I'm the gold standard. It's not, okay? It's not saying that I get this right, it's not saying I've gotten this right, and it's not saying that I've got all the answers, all right? But what I want to start doing is supporting people, okay? And this isn't about after the fact saying you did something wrong. It's about supporting us so the fact doesn't occur and we move forward. And that's really what I want to do. What I don't want this to be is I'm seen as someone did something wrong coaching and now you've got to go and have a meeting with him. And that's not what I want. I want this to be, Derek, how much do you coach at the minute?
Don't know.
Don't know. You covering a session, right? You're covering a session at Time Met for under 12s. I want this to be you having the confidence to email me and say, what do you think I should do? That's what I want this to be. It's not Graham, who I've known for 20 years, okay? All of you could drop me a message with the thoughts, with support. I'm needing this, I'm needing that, and that's what I want to get out of this in the long term, all right? I don't want this to be a kind of, I'm here to police stuff. That's not what it is at all, all right? And the other thing is, what's the biggest mistake you ever made in coaching, Lou?
Shouting too much.
Shouting too much, great, that's all of us. Jack, biggest mistake?
Probably the same.
I've made every mistake that you can think of. Everyone in here, if you think now, don't have to actually say it, but the biggest mistake you've made in coaching, I've made it. And I've made it at all the levels you're doing it at, okay? Now, I don't have all the answers because the collective knowledge in the room is more than any one of us. Collective knowledge is incredible in this room. But what I have done is I've made mistakes at every single level. And I've been successful at some level, to some degree at every single level as well. Whether it's been at CVL, I've done horrendous things coaching at CVL. I've made huge freaking mistakes, which have resorted to a message saying Ian come into the office on Monday morning. Okay? I used to coach something called the Youth Games. They changed the rules because of me. Because I was pressed, I had a really strong South-Tyne side team, and I pressed a 2-year young Gateshead team in a 15-minute game and beat them by 40. Okay? They changed the rules about when you had to take a press off because of that. I was like 18 at the time, didn't know what I was doing. Frank, when you had this conversation, huh? Frank's 10 years ahead of me. Okay, because I was still doing crazy stuff until I was like 26, 27, and then it got less crazy. So everything I've done, I've had great CVL teams who had, as far as players who left and right hand looking really good. I've had terrible CVL teams who were all about winning. I've had academy teams, whether that be at Gateshead or somewhere else, that didn't win a game all season and didn't produce any players. I've also had ones that were nearly national champions, were 2 minutes away from being national champions, and had players go on to higher things and everything else. Okay, I've had 11 national titles, and we've also had some stinkers, if anyone was here last night. Okay, so at every level, well, you guys, at every age group, I have some empathy because I've been there and done it. I've felt isolated. I've felt like I've had no support. I've felt like I was only being watched to criticise, or I was only being watched to, kind of punish. You know, I never felt I was supported a lot of the time, so I've been in all the same situations as you. So that's the disclaimer that I want to say. This is to try and build a rapport with all of us and have some support. And the last thing I want to talk about before we start off is milestones. You'll all have had, and everyone will, you'll have a milestone as you start coaching. You'll have something where you go, Jesus, that really opened my eyes. I didn't have a clue about that. And you learn something new, or you learn something about yourself. Little ones I've had along the way. Mark done it. Me and Graham did a level 3 course. Jesus, Graham was 19 years ago.
I know.
19 years ago I did my level 3, and I was introduced to a guy called Mark Dunnan, and some of the things he told me, which were simple to him, blew my mind. About working with players, about setting short-term targets. It never occurred to me at 20 years old that we should force everyone away from the basket, sideline and baseline. He called it fanning. He said, imagine you've got a fan on the front, the white fans in your room. Imagine it's clipped on the front of the basket, just fan the ball away from that hole. It never even occurred to me, blew my mind. Okay, so little things like that was huge for me. National teams was massive for me. Working with the previous head coach, Fab, from a defensive point of view was fantastic for me. But one of the biggest milestones that I will ever hear, and I wish he was here tonight because he knows nothing about this, was I was coaching South Tyneside Basketball Club. And I used to coach South Tyneside, and I coached them when we were one of the top 10 clubs in the country size-wise. Back then, about 130 members, which was big back then. At 12s, 14s, 16s, 18s, girls team, senior team, I was coaching everything, right? I was coaching regional as well, 7 teams. I was coaching academy, 8 teams. I was assistant with the pro team, 9 teams. I think I coached under 23s as well, 10 teams, coaching everything. And one night with South Tyneside Basketball Club, it's Kristen Morton, by the way, he has no idea about his story, but he's going to hear it now. And we had 9, you only have 9 players at training. And he was just looking at the door like, oh shit, 10th one's got to walk in here, please, let the 10th one walk in. And I said to Kristen, I was coaching the senior team, and I said, Kristen, where's, I don't know, Andy or something? And he'd been about 4 or 5 times. I said, why is he not here tonight? Kristen said, I think he's quit. I said, what's he quit for? What's the matter with him? We're getting on great. And he said to us, Ian, come on. You know, he wouldn't be the first person who's walked out that door because of you. And I was just like, what? Like, are you kidding us? I'm coaching 10 teams, I'm giving everything here. I'm giving absolutely everything. And I thought, what, you walked out because of me? But you're nuts. And he's like, no, Nick, come on, man. Yeah, come on, you must know. And I was probably 27 at the time. He says, you're too intense, you're not. If someone walks in, they may not want to be an NBA player, they may be there for fun. You know, and you're going at them, and you're giving them a playbook, and you're getting on them for being wrong, and this. And this was a senior men's team, you know, and it was a real light bulb moment for me, and I looked at myself and thought, Jesus, I'm stopping people playing the game. As much as I'm helping, I'm stopping people playing the game. People have quit basketball because of me, you know, and that was a real eye-opener for me, okay? So, as much as it's great, you know, that the experiences we've had, which we've all had with the pro coaches around the club, I mean, I've got a European Championship silver medal. I don't know where it is, but I remember Kristen Morton in 2012 telling us that. So first thing, I just want to do a little bit of reflection, just for the people around you. Why'd you coach? Why'd you coach? Have a chat for 30 seconds, a minute, and then we'll chat about it all together. But go for it, guys. Why'd you coach? Let's bring it back, go on then. Let's start with the bros at the back. What's your thoughts, fellas? What you come up with?
Alright, yeah, we'll say connection. We'll say connections. We'll say connections like where we're saying how we coached out when he was 9, and I'm probably still coaching to this day, but it's still fun, and we've got to know a lot of kids when doing it. Passing on knowledge from every single thing we learn, we'll pass it on. Seeing a kid go from nothing to then winning their first CBM medal. It's just something good to see them go from that to the end result. Well, not the end result, but like one step further.
The journey, yeah.
What do I want to do? Yeah.
Brilliant. That's a really good answer. You kind of got us there on that one.
The
big word I picked out. The big word I picked out for there, which you kind of glossed over, as you said it was fun. Right in the middle of all that, you said it was fun. Okay, what do you guys talk about at the back? It's three here. Team Frank.
Yeah, go on, Lee. Well, Frank said...
Don't say Frank said. Well,
Frank don't want to say it, so...
Okay.
We all came to the agreement, like, passing on knowledge from what we've been taught to do as players, passing on to the players at home. So it's like, me, Frank, Sean, Shannon, we've all been taught by Graham since we were like 10, 11, 12, in to pass on knowledge to like Sean and Shannon's under 12s team to mine, Frank's under 14s. It's just passing knowledge on.
Yeah, alright, nice one. I have an influence for the next people. Go out with Graham, you want to...
I think for me it's changed over the years. When I first started it was the offer of a job from having come from promoting basketball and hockey and being a hockey background. If somebody'd offered me a job in hockey, I'd have jumped at it.
Yeah.
But it was a chance to do something in sport, which is something I always wanted to do. Maybe not basketball in the initial, but it was good. It was interesting to find something new. And then it goes from being new to coaching, to pushing yourself to get to academy level. And now I've gone almost full circle back to sort of the development side of the game, but also I think now trying to develop coaches. So if in a couple of years' time I retire, there's people around who I think I could trust to run the club, keep things going, maybe the next lot of academy coaches or something like that. So I think for me it's been different things over the years, but it started off with the offer of a job and something that I found I quite enjoyed doing through trying to promote it in schools, being able to do a few ball skills and stuff like that to enthuse the kids in an assembly led to taking the coaching badge, which then led to getting a full-time chance of a job through the Eagles. So I think for me it's changed over the years. Yeah,
do you remember the level 1 we did, first time we met?
Yeah.
Remember the Toronto Raptors shorts that you were wearing? I do.
I think I've probably still got them actually.
Alright, so it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
Laura or Chris, you guys had a chat there?
I'm old. I feel like I can do this forever.
You want to leave the mask on if you want, Chris.
No,
Don't feel compelled to take it off.
No, I started playing ball at 11 years old. I mean, for me, it's like 40 plus years ago. I started coaching at 18 down in the southeast. Literally pulled a team from a playground in the park, gone to the sports centre, and we started playing local league and just kept going.
So that's the what? What's the why?
And the why was, one, no one else was doing it in our area. Two, I had a passion for sport, athletics, fitness anyway, and basketball was the one game that no one else was doing it with. So we bought the local council. I said, if we can raise this much, we put the rest in, we got outdoor hoop up. And that's
So you're building something, yeah?
Literally started from that.
What about you, Laura?
Well, I basically kind of almost fell out of love with basketball after I played for the academy and then went
Wasn't
off
me,
and
was
did-
it?
No, it wasn't you
Okay.
actually. No. There you go. But then I decided, I met Chris and we talked all about it again and basically wanted to try and get me back into like loving basketball again. And I also wanted to develop, because I'm a teacher as well, so I teach at a secondary school. So I already pass on my passion for science as a science teacher, but I wanted to also try and pass on my passion that I have for basketball to these kids and hopefully help them develop the way I developed and hopefully not kind of basically try to stop them basically what happened to me in a way, basically be that coach there that like pushes them to whatever they want to do, whether they want to go basketball for or they don't want to go basketball for, but help them in whatever they want to do in their life basically.
Yeah.
So kind of be that little support system
That's
for them.
interesting. That's really interesting. It's going to lead on to the second part of this actually, but that's really, thank you for that. What about guys over here? What do you guys think about?
Basically get the kids off the street, get them developing, obviously enjoy the game of basketball really. Obviously come from areas where crime rates are quite high. Obviously the only way you can do it is get kids off the street to play a game that they don't love. That's basically us.
Brilliant. Brilliant. At the back, that's Jack and Sharon. You guys know what?
Alright, so the main thing that we mentioned was obviously being like only a few years ago, but when I was like growing up a bit younger in school, I had a lot of like positive role models, which has definitely helped me like get through life. Well, that's not a bit deep, but
Doesn't matter.
you
That's
know,
alright.
helps out. It's just mainly about being a good role model for kids, hoping to like sort of reflect that fact on people. So on top of that, I mean, I love coaching. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's basketball, or sports, anything like that.
Yeah.
It's something I enjoy, and I think if I enjoy coaching, it's going to reflect on other people. Hopefully find that if they can find a sport that they enjoy, then feel I'm doing the job.
Fantastic. Well done, Sharon. What about you? Anything to add?
Same thing.
Yeah, same type of thing. Role model. Graham? No, I'm saying.
Oh, were you asking the question?
I was saying, do you want to be a role model? But
Yeah.
that was right there, wasn't it? Yeah, you knew exactly who it was. That's him happy now. Okay, good stuff, guys. So all the stuff you've just said, it's quite deep, Jack. It's quite deep what you guys are talking about. No problem. I mean, we're just talking about the why we start coaching. So a few people there have actually gone like quite deep as to why they did it. Well, here's my next question. How many of your kids know that? How many of the kids that you coach know why you coach? Know why you coach?
Don't think it's been growing up though.
Right, wouldn't be, because you don't get an 8-year-old going, hello Jack, how's things? How's the band? What do you coach for? They don't ask that question, do they?
No.
Okay, the pros at the back. Do players know why you do it?
Probably not.
Probably not, right? We don't. They probably don't. And the parents don't know why you do it either. But some of them might, you have better relationships with us and you might, but on the whole they don't. Okay? Because you're just seen as the coach. Parents will come to you when the kit order's late. Okay? And we're talking in general, because obviously you know we have better relationships.
It's not good for that one.
They'll talk to you when there's a problem with the, what is it, the nest or whatever. You get it, then you get it. But actually, do they know? Alright? And we're talking about, who said relationships? You said relationships, right? And do they know that? And the next thing is, why do they play? For 30 seconds, a minute, just people around you, why do they play? Start way back in anyone else start with it? Why do they play? Yeah, go for it.
We've come up with a variety, and it changes from like in terms of age to different reasons, ability level and what have you. From a young age, it could be something as simple as parents are looking for some cheap babysitting.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
To when you've got highly competitive teams, they're looking to develop, looking to compete, looking to achieve something within a team sport. To when you're all in a senior team, it might be the one chance a week you can get out and socialise with mates playing a sport.
Yeah.
So as I said, there's a variety of different reasons for different
Fantastic,
ages.
really good, nailed the boxing. So let me ask you, let me expand on that then. Another question. Why did this start? And let's take away they've been for 5 years now, there's something else, why did they play? Why did they start? Why did they come back the second time?
I think it starts off, obviously, we look at our unattended section at the minute, we've come after lockdown, we've had a massive increase in the amount of people in tasting sessions, and I think it's making it as fun, as enjoyable as possible, given that place. As you said, with some of them, I think there's a lot of sports in the UK that takes precedence over basketball, football, rugby, cricket. It could be that one sport that they've dropped into because they haven't or don't like other sports, and it's something that can help them build their confidence as well. So making it something an enjoyable, a safe space for them to come, have some fun, in our environment.
That's very interesting. I love the point you make about, you almost kind of said they don't fit in that sport. Because let's be honest, you have to have a strong personality to be on the school football team.
Yeah.
Any football team.
You have to sit at the pool table almost, you know what I mean? There's a lot of pressure. You do. I play for a school football team. We were terrible at everything. But is it more comfortable to drop into a sport like this? I think you make a great point. Anyone want to add? Want to add on their thoughts? We don't have to go to the right room if anything has anything to think pertinent. Well,
I think, especially the new kids turning up, where it was given a ball, string their hands, it's one for them to use for the hour and a half that they're there, is a game changer. Instead of retaining, because if you've got football, you usually got shared. Whereas you can actually have a ball for yourself for an hour.
We tried to do that last night, actually.
Yeah? Don't comment. But yeah, I think just that one thing makes a huge difference in terms of them.
So the why, let's dig down to the why, that's the what.
Yeah.
Why does that make a difference?
Look, it's also like a comfort blanket, partly, and two, it means they actually develop their skills very quickly, and they can see.
We're kind of getting to the what. We're getting to the what because my son goes to nurseries 2.5, and I'd say what happened at nurseries, and I've developed my skills pretty well. You know, he says I hit some sand, you know, and anyone else was in the sand, I don't know, eat it all myself type of stuff. So the why is what we're trying to dig down to.
I think the thing for me, what they said before about the safe environment, but I think because basketball is still classed as a minority sport, I think it's a level playing field for everybody who first walks in, because nobody's done it before. Half the time, I've never played basketball in my life, ever. Played a bit of school and PE, that's about it. That's my sum total. So it's a level playing field, I think, for a lot of kids who might not fit into that round peg as a footballer or the square peg as a rugby player. You know, they might have tried these sports, maybe at a younger age, just not enjoyed it. I've got a triathlete now, he's 14, he's at the top end of his game in triathlon, give it up, doesn't like the coach, doesn't like the way he's being coached, so he's now come to basketball, loving playing at the Griffins, and can't wait to start playing properly in January.
Yeah, and I think what we're kind of getting around there's two things to that. Like years back, certainly 15 years ago, basketball was classified as a late specialty sport. We get the rugby players, we get the 40 and the academies don't want them, they're quite tall, or we get the long distance runners who are quite, wiry and then they come because they've done with that, or the footballers who make it. We're changing that, and we don't pat ourselves on. Anthony is changing that, and since he come into this role is changing that. He's kids at 5-year-old with basketball. The most important thing we have is little dribblers. Okay? Small baskets, small basketballs. We're actually trying to change that. So at 6 years old, 11 years old, kids can play basketball for 4 years, 5 years. You know, and that's what we need to get to. But what you guys have all said is the social element and fun. So the kind of next thing is, when does it change? When does it change when that's not the priority? Because I guarantee, when I've just seen the last game was 83-3, okay? I guarantee when they go home, they're going to say, did they enjoy it or did they not? What they're not going to say is, our weak side defense weren't very good. I didn't use my left hand when I finished. They're not going to say that. Did I enjoy it? Did I not? Did you get to play with your friends? What my 2.5-year-old son does say is, what did you do with nursery? He says, Isla did this, and Johnny did that, and Jacob did this. He's talking about friends already. When does it change? Okay, one of my biggest priorities in BBL practice is lifting people up as soon as I walk in. I walk around BBL practice with established pros and senior men, and I go around, how's things going? You know, I know his NFL team, well, Washington last night. I don't care about Washington, he didn't care about Washington. We're trying to start immediately with the social aspect of it. Because those small things at every level never stop. And I think sometimes we forget about that. Let's forget about the social side, let's forget about having fun. Why? Because we need to have a 1-3-1 trap. But we don't. Okay, stick a ball in our hands and let them have fun. You know, it's a massive thing, which leads on to the next one, is what will they remember? What will they remember? I mentioned before about, you know, it wasn't really about me, but we won the BBL playoffs last year. I don't know what the score was. I don't know who scored the winning basket. I know Fletch makes 2 free throws at the end to give me a heart attack. But I don't know. But I do remember Drew Lasker jumping on me as the buzzer went. I do remember with 7 minutes and 5 seconds left in the game, and scores 55-55. Fletch turned to me and said, Mac, they're top locking the shit out of me. Doesn't matter, we're knocking on the top locking. And I looked at him, he looked at me, and I said one word, I said twist. And he told the next guy, twist. He told 2 more guys, twist. Next time, twist. I said one word. Now, why do I remember that? It's because we spent a hell of a lot of time in practice talking about twist. And all twist is every action. When teams start defending us well, we invert every action. Every down screen becomes a back screen. Every cross screen this way becomes a cross screen that way. Every post up becomes a post release. And twist. And we developed a shorthand. Now remember that. I don't remember who gave me the trophy or anything like that. I'm not sure where the trophy is. Okay? But you remember the social interactions. When we beat Sheffield by a point in the quarterfinals. Okay? I forget the play. But I remember there's a picture of me and Fletch just about to absolutely embrace we're going to semi-finals. I remember that. Okay? I remember Kristen Morton in 2013-14. Alright? And that we got to keep that all the way through. Yes, because you've got to keep them back and you need 20 players per session to play the quartile and all that type of stuff, but also we will create better basketball players if they enjoy it. We're going to move on. And just before you came, I said we're probably going to be out here at 20 past 6, 25 past. I'm not going to go all the way through. I thought it was just important we get in a room. You know, taking stock. Where are we now? Where are we now? This is shocking. I went through this last night. I couldn't believe this. Okay, we're the biggest CPL in the country by far. I've been to Manchester CPL 3 courts, right? They've got no clue what's going on. No one's wearing a uniform. Who's referee? Someone to throw a whistle at someone to referee this game. Who knows? There'll be one referee. It's horrendous. We haven't got no shot blocks. All that type of stuff. We're the biggest CPL in the country by a mile. Okay, we're the most complete player pathway in the country. In the country by a mile. Okay, that's little dribblers to pro. But I'm just little dribblers to bottom end. Age-wise, that's it, isn't it? Yeah. So little dribblers to pro, most complete in the country. Name an age, name a level, we've got somewhere for you to play basketball. Brilliant. Okay. Under 14s and under 16s compete well nationally. Okay. Under 14s girls winning games, under 14s boys winning games. They're very close. They're competing with the big clubs. Okay, which we are actually. And they are doing it. Under 16s as well. You know, we have players in under 15s England squad, under 16s England squad. We've got them there. They're going for GB trials. They may be getting there. But under 18s hasn't competed well for years, years and years. Okay. Briefly, when Tosan was here, we were an average team, top half. You go back under 18s National League team Grim. Premier Division making playoffs, getting deep in the playoffs.
And Hall's group probably
But
way
that was
back
conference.
when. Yeah, but they went deep in the playoffs because they were a conference
You went
team.
sneaky though, didn't you?
Yeah, we won the conference by miles. and
Adam
then-
Hall's now 31 coaching again.
Yeah.
You know, so 14 years, okay?
But yeah, it's been a long time
So
since we
underneath
had
hasn't
anybody.
competed for years. The ABL is one of the weakest teams in the country. Weakest teams in the country, okay? We had a game last week at 40 turnovers. 40, okay? This is crazy. That step is crazy. What happens? Okay, it's nuts. And the reason is, at 14s and 16s nationally, you can compete with, we got 3 guys who developed early, they're taller, okay? You got, I'll be totally honest, you got 2 girls at under 14 who played netball and are really good at passing. And you're like, oh, cool. You know, something has actually given us not a developed advantage. Not since there's not, we're not competing there because of what we've done at 8 years old. We haven't grown it through that for it takes 6 years. Okay? We're competing there because we've got some natural gifts. Something. Okay? And then people catch up. And when you get to under 18, what's your foundation? What did you build when you first came into the game? That's when it's exposed at 18. Because at 18 years old, everyone's developed. 17 years old, everyone's developed. They're big, they're strong, go for a grip.
And just say something, I think 14s, 16s, certainly 14s, I think we compete better because we have such a good CBL. Whereas a lot of areas don't have CBL.
As well.
It's like York Eagles don't play in a CBL. Dave Smith will pick them up from schools, and the first time they touch a basketball court in a competitive game is play National League. But obviously by the time they get to 18, they've had 3-4 years development, played at college, etc., etc. So then they start to catch up, whereas we always seem to have a slight advantage over a
So
lot
we
of
parachute
teams
in.
because of CBL.
We parachute into competitive basketball there, but then there everyone's had those 2
Yeah,
years.
yeah, they've had 3 or 4
And
years, the
that's
same
when
as
it
we
comes in.
have.
Yeah.
But we've always had the advantage of the
Yeah.
CBL kids playing at 8, 9, 10 years old, even back in the old dark days before the under 10s existed, playing under 12s, they would have
Yeah.
had 3 or 4 years playing experience, whereas sometimes you come up against kids who've never touched a ball before, played
So
national league.
it's actually even more scary, isn't it?
Is that right?
So what we're saying,
Yeah.
what we're saying is 13 and 14-year-olds here have already had 2 or 3 years now competed. And 13 and 14s in other places haven't. But then 2-3 years later, we've got 40 turnovers.
Yeah.
That's scary. Because then it's like, what the hell are we doing? What are we actually doing? Okay? And this kind of comes back to, like, I'm never going to go to a club. Unless someone says, Ian, do you want to go to a club session and see what they're doing? And, man, okay, yeah, fair enough, I will, but it's not top of my list. Okay? Because if I go to CVL and watch basketball, I know what you did at club. You know, like we talked about, Matty, you were talking about backcuts, weren't we?
Yes.
3 or 4 year guys backcut, and okay, he's emphasised backcut, and Anthony mentioned that table as well. They must have been emphasising backcut. I also say the same fella go with the right hand 3 times. So I was like, alright, backcut, but I should have dunked it with the left hand. You know, it's 13. So we'll see. We'll see what we're doing. We'll see what we did at the young end by what we do at that end. We'll see it. Okay? You press our ABL teams, game over. Can't make 3 passes out of the press. Or 6'7", 6'8", long arms, dunking all over the rim. Can't pass that over press. Can't pass off the dribble. Can't dribble and then make that pass. They can dribble, jump start, pivot over here, you know, shot clock violation or lip or something. But they can't make that pass. They can't do it. Okay? And it's not them. It's not because they're bad people. It's because something happened earlier on and they can't do it. Okay?
That was the problem on Wednesday when I refereed the game.
I was this Wednesday, no, there we go. I was talking about last week, but
No, last Wednesday they put the press on that we couldn't pass the ball. Inbound players, turnovers.
we've been saying for years at the 18s and at the India, we just get them in the half court, we're fine. And you know why? Because we've been doing shell drill so much. That's why. That's why we're okay when we get into the half court. Shell drill.
Manchester.
Okay, but unfortunately, you can't get the shell drill because we're turning the ball over on the full court. Okay, we're not teaching a kid to make a 40-foot pass. Why? Because we're using half the court, doing shell drill. Okay, So which is why now we've got a lot of 3v3 happening, 4v4, the max we playing under 10s, huh?
4v4 intense.
4v4, more basketball, more space, more chance to have the ball in your hands. You know, we used to play under 12s or under 10s. I remember seeing under 10s game years back on a full court. You could have locked them in the gym overnight, it'd be 2-0 by morning.
Yeah,
Okay?
what
Five
happens
shots
with
a game.
what happens with the tens, which is really beneficial, and Django's evidence of that, is we're trying to encourage them to express themselves with the dribble. Whereas if they play 12s too early, players without the dexterity or the athleticism, they would do great off the dribble when they're still 40 feet from the hoop.
Yeah.
Whereas Django can get an instant reward of a layup or a pull-up off a good dribble move. So it's changed the skill set, and I think it'll play a big part.
I think it's huge. I think the small basketballs, the small baskets, we're going to get better shooters.
The shorter journeys to the hoop is key for me.
Massive.
Well,
And
the
just
ball
more chances to
Yeah.
shoot the ball.
And it's
You know,
not then a game of, up and down and the best athletes dominate.
best athletes win. As long as you got the midfield from your football team, you win. You know, that's how you win a hoops felt tournament.
Yeah.
2 tall girls, 2 boys who will run around. Okay, midfielders in your football team. That's how you win hoops felt tournaments. Okay, no one's. We used to play 5v5 in the badminton court, didn't we?
Yeah.
Carnage.
But
Absolutely
You
carnage.
talk about, sorry to stop you on this, but you talk about beating the press. When I watched the 14, it's Merrifield, isn't it? First name?
George.
George. I think as well as that team did that day, without George, you don't win that game.
No,
And I know that's an easy thing to say. 'cause he's a
Late
strong player.
on, his hesitation and explosive dribble was
Yeah.
what kept back the score the way it
But
was.
his
because
ability
he controlled breaking their press.
But that ability, he was put in a position where he had to dribble, and he had to dribble both ways.
Yeah.
And the most time I'll stop the coaches at Wigan, formerly Hornets obviously, is when they say pass. Stop telling them to pass.
Till you get
Because
there.
I wanted to try and beat them off the dribble.
Yeah.
And George has benefited from maybe that freedom and that confidence to beat people off the dribble.
But again, saying that, years back, how many times did we go to CBL and see pick and rolls mid-court because the ball handler's not good enough to handle
I
the
used
ball?
to pick and rolls, I saw a lot of picks.
Well,
Picks
you know
are
what I
right
mean?
hand.
Yeah. Pick, well, I used to
One
see
pick.
that.
They're rolling
I
down.
was-
Let's not say we've never got that. People do that all the time.
No, you're right. What that
Exactly how we
is,
would see it.
what that is how can I get my best player on their strongest hand downhill towards the rim from there? And you get like, oh well, he's only 5'2", so let's set a screen. Go on, set a
But
screen.
the under-10 situation now with the lower baskets, that's gone on in France.
Yeah.
Every Christmas I go out, I go to a basketball camp and I see it all the time with
Yeah.
young kids playing short games, short numbers, small baskets, smaller balls. And I used to come back and say, you know what, we need to start adopting that. And now we've got the facility with the drop-down baskets, it can be done.
It is going to be done, and
But
it is
obviously,
being done. You
in
know
the
what we're
past,
talking about. I
in the
think
past, we didn't always have that at the likes of a Westgate. You had your 2 big hoops and that was about it.
I think before we could spend a lot of time on this because we've all got strong feelings on this type of stuff. But the fact is, I think we'd all agree, the younger they have the ball in their hands, the more they have the ball in their hands at a younger age.
Yeah.
It's quite, a football coach put it best to me, a good friend of mine called Robbie Pringle, I think you know.
Yeah.
And he said very simple, FA, I think he's
FA skills program.
Yes, now women's football for Northumbria, I believe.
Yeah.
And he said very simple, when they first start teaching, they say, ball at your feet, defender, can you win this situation? If not, pass it to your friend and let them win their situation. You know? Not pass it to your friend first. Can you beat this? Can you dominate what you've got right now? And if not, someone else will. The eye test. So what do we just see? What's that first glance? For players, ball handling is exactly what we're talking about. I watched Wickham. I can't remember. Laura, I think you were coaching Wickham. It was Wickham D.
I don't coach it.
You know, you coached against them.
Oh, Costa.
I think it was Costa Wickham. I think it was. And I watched a lot of games all day, but there was 4 different people on Wickham that I saw finish with their weaker hand, or their off hand, I saw it. Okay? And there was other, compared to other teams. Now, Anthony has taken George Merrifield out of that, maybe you don't win that. Okay? Is Newcastle Eagles a good ball handling team? Yeah, of course, we've got Fletch. Alright, take him off the court. 21 turnovers last night. We're not. What is the mean of what we're doing? And not your best 3 players in your club, excuse me, the average kid, what are they doing?
Yeah.
That's the key. Okay, that's the key. And ball handling wise, there's a lot of turning away from pressure. I'm going to go this way. I don't want to see the ball, or the basket's over there. You have to turn around. Okay, there is pressure coming, ball up over the head, turn away. Not, nope, going past you. You can't pressure me anymore. Left hand, right hand at appropriate times. And when I say ball handle, I don't mean just dribble. Okay, please start teaching your kids to pass off the dribble with one hand, to go left and make that pass. Okay, teach it, let them have fun, let them throw behind the back pass, why not? Okay, remember you go nuts at me when you walk in, remember that?
Benched you on Snicky.
Throw behind the back, couldn't assist, why not? Through me ears and everything, got benched. Let them fall in love with the ball, okay? Shooting competency, are we good shooters? Well no, him and him's good shooters, okay? Shooting a mid-range shot, but what about the 5th, 6th, 7th player on your team? Not is it going in, is that form repeatable? Okay, guy played for Bristol last night called Corey Samuels, coached him since he was 13, 14 years old. Shoots from his left shoulder, he's right-handed. Because when he was much smaller, didn't have the strength to do this. Playing pro basketball now, we didn't guard him. Didn't guard him on the perimeter, forget him. Literally, we didn't guard a professional basketball player on the perimeter, and a point guard at that. Okay, shooting competency. Can they do this? Okay, forget beef. Forget belief, or whatever basketball England are saying right now. Can they put it on a platform and kind of finish with a high elbow? And unless something funky is going on, you know, that's fine. That's fine. As long as there's nothing weird going on. Everyone says 10 toes to the basket. Well, the most accurate throwing sportsmen I know are darts players.
That's that you use.
Okay, that's such a very credulous control. Okay, your feet are pointing the opposite way. It's your arm. Okay, if that's fine, they'll be okay. Get them loads of reps. Okay. Next thing, left and right hand usage. Not necessarily for the dribble, for the pass. Okay. I do 2-ball dribbles. I do this all the time. A bit of 2-ball stuff with kids. And then you say, passes the ball. So they go, all right, pass you the ball. Pass me the other one. So they put it in their right hand and pass you the other one. 1, 2. You know, encourage it, reward it. Okay. So Marty, next time he back cuts, because he's going to score 40 a game, isn't he? Because he's a big lad and he's good. Okay? The next time he back cuts and does the Lonzo ball shot, okay? How could we improve on that next time? Right, go back up, but don't do the other thing where you say, oh, forget the back cuts, use your left hand, don't do that. Do the, alright, good. How can we make it better? You know, and put the question to them. You know, the left and right hand usage, spacing. CVL games in general are played in the middle third of the court, that wedge. Not a lot of corner usage. Okay, there's a lot of dribbling into that. Okay, the balls come from this side, from this side, from this side. I'm left-handed, so it goes back that way. Okay, we'll kind of come this way. Kind of use away from the defense. Okay, I shared a video via the e-newsletter, the newsletter thing. Basic spacing, dribble out, pass out, get out again. Okay, and create more spacing. Use the corners, the break where the straight line meets the curve line on the three-pointer. Get below the break into the corners. Encourage it. Okay, everyone's got to be 5 giant steps away or something like that. Well, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what the terminology, but the spacing. Okay. Next one, coaches. Okay, and again, I'm not trying to beat anyone over the head with this stuff. I'm just telling you what I see. I'm very honest with that. The first one is emotions. Okay. We are way too emotional, and I'll go back right to the start. Disclaimer: I am not the gold standard. Okay. Last night, Newcastle Eagles had a stinking performance. We scored 55 points in the game. Okay. After the first quarter, end of the first quarter, we just blown the scout report on the known shooter 3 times. 3 times in a row, we blew the scout report. On Thursday, we walked through a very simple flare technique that they'd be doing to get him over. We taught how we're going to defend it. On Friday morning, we watched it on video again. 3 times in the end of the first 3 times, they did it. Blew the game wide open. Okay? At the end of the first quarter, the guys sat down, and I wouldn't say I screamed at them, but I nailed them. Not in a good way. I nailed them. May have sworn at them. Django, sorry, I didn't
I
really
could only hear the word yesterday from the top of the stand.
This was the thing. We did it from the top of the stand. You see, I'm embarrassed now. Okay,
Oh, well, I was in the middle of the stand.
Nah, middle, good, I'm getting
We
better.
heard the word yesterday, which told me you're sending them a message. We went through this is on you.
But what message am I actually saying? Yes, I'm saying it's on
You
you.
said it's on them.
But what did they need in that moment? Uplift. They needed a solution. They did. Now don't get me wrong, it's not all rainbows and roses and sunshine and unicorns, can't be, okay? But when I screamed at them and looked in their eyes, I thought it's going to be difficult to win this game. Because they all went, oh shit, they all stepped back, mentally, okay? And I was like, I missed that moment there. And I knew it in the moment, I knew it at the time. Okay, so, sorry, long-winded way of saying I do this too, and it's something I fight with. I tell you the difference. I didn't sleep last night because of that. Not because of the loss at the end, because of what I did at the end of the first quarter. Okay? I'm not saying that I got it. It's okay, fellas, don't worry. No, it's not. You're pro basketball players. It's not okay. But how I delivered it is you got to be intense and demanding and passionate without scaring them. You'll know, because they'll start nodding their heads.
Was that one person's fault, Mac, for that play failing?
I think
Or was it a culmination of...
It was a collective effort to get it immensely wrong. The problem we had essentially is Darius Defoe was on the ball screen defense and doesn't know what's behind him because he's on the ball screen defense. Three guys standing behind him, seeing it develop, seeing what the solution could be, seeing nothing.
Not communicating?
Not communicating. Darius is back there, he communicates, no problem. So there was more, there wasn't one guy. There's an easy solution, it's us. Okay? Talk to the assistant. Okay? But my point is, how can you be intense, passionate, and emotional? Hey fellas, that's 3 times we haven't nailed that scout report. We knew it was coming. What's the barrier for you delivering it? Nothing, coach. Then nail it next time. Yeah, okay, no problem, hands in, off you go. That's all it needed to be. Okay, I went too far, stepped back. I knew, I didn't go too far, don't get me wrong. It wasn't like Bradovic. If everyone knows who Bradovic is, the crazy Serbian, you know, like great. I'm just joking. He did some was off for behind the back pass. It wasn't nuts. I was just obvious that they took a massive step back. I got a video for you, all right, really quick. I'll send this out at some point because I've watched this probably 20 times over the last year or so. It is one of the best lectures or clinics or whatever you want to say that I've ever seen, and it's not going to work for. How do I get to? There he is. There's the boy. Okay. This fella's called Keith Raymond. Nothing to do with basketball. Gaelic football. Hurling. You know what hurling is? Rugby posts, 3 points to get it and pass the keeper at the bottom, over the top 1 point. Okay, nothing to do with basketball. He's massively Irish. You might not be able to understand him. Proper Irish cork. Okay.
Second time, I'm afraid running.
He's talking about running a team of 20-year-olds. Okay, hit them for the first time. Okay.
And I was only 120 lads in the race, I was running in the meeting. I don't know, they were all young at the same time. We all come up together. I was probably 26, 27, and they were all 28, 21. They were all nuts. They were genuinely nuts now, right? And I knew there was a very good football team in it, like, and I used to be trying to coach and train. And anyway, they lose the plot. They'd be 5 minutes to go some match, or they'd be brilliant, and the next match would come out, they could all lose the plot. They're 2 cents off, or they could start going, whatever. And they used to come home, and I used to be depressed all day. And a very good friend of mine who later, since passed away,
just didn't get that. They were crazy, they'd lose, he'd be depressed out of his head. He's got no friend, he's proper Irish, I did say.
And you know, we went for a walk one night and he was inside and I said, like, really dumb as and he said something to me that really resonated with me. He said, I never thought he said you were selfish. And I looked at it because I thought I was kind of volunteering all my life, and stuff all my life, and I was volunteering, and I never gave a about money, and I just always wanted, I thought I was a real club man, a real GA man, a real this, and this fella there, my friend of 100 years called me and said, I said, I thought about it. He said, there's all about you, is it? What do you mean? He said, that's what it is, sure. I'm up to field morning, noon and night, this is coaching teams. Right? I gave up my work, I gave up jobs, I gave up education, all just to coach these fellas. I don't call him here. Yeah, he said. General Thomas is drinking the shit out of them for the last 3 days. I've eaten things. And that's it. That's exactly what you are. He says, you own it. You own your sorrow and your joy. And I looked at him, and we were over the walk up around the north side. And then over around the north great walks, we went around the country, so we were way out, me inside the tent this time. And I had to walk back almost in silence, right? Very awkward. And then the worst of it, going into his house for a cup of tea, and my wife, at the time she was my girlfriend, she was hanging around his daughter and stuff like that, so I was going in there, so I had to sit in there again afterwards.
Don't forget all that with the Irish accent. But what he said is, and I carry this with me, I've got a book, I write stuff down, and that was a big thing I wrote. Similar to my Kristen Morton story. He calls him selfish because he owns their sorrow and owns their joy. Now, what does he mean by this? He goes on and he talks about it. He says, when you win, you can't be the highest in the locker room afterwards. You can't be the most happiest. You can't be. That's theirs. That's theirs. You could be with them, but you can't be the highest. And when you lose, you can't be the lowest because they need you at that point. Okay? End of the first quarter yesterday, I was the lowest. I was the most angry. I should have seen, what have you got? Why are you so angry? Why are you not, why do you not want to do better? Don't own their sorrow and their joy. What does that look like? When you own their joy, it looks like cheerleading on the sideline. It looks like, yeah, great job. And then the kid behind you on the bench is like, oh, yeah. And you've shadowed them. Okay? What does it look like when you own their sorrow? When you're screaming, why do we do this? Why do we do that? No, that's disgraceful. And my first year coaching the pro team, if we lost the game, I was useless the weekend, useless to my family, to everyone. Okay, I was worse than the players. Players would be like, hey, come on, let's get back to practice, we'll be all right next week, and I was on the floor. As coaches, we can't own their sorrow and their joy. But what I see in CBL is, we do it a lot. We're the happiest or we're the saddest on our team. And we need a balance with that, okay? So you guys get back to where we were. I hope that makes sense. I'm not trying to labour that point, but we're there to facilitate them, okay? Why did we start doing this? Okay, for me, my dad was a coach. I loved that someone do it. I was proud of him. I wanted to do that too. But the other thing was, it's the closest thing to playing, isn't it? It's the closest thing to playing with the competitors. So emotional, guys, and I wanted to spend a little bit more time on that one because I think it's huge for us. Okay, I'll tell you right now, the two best coaches I saw when I came to CBL 2 weeks ago were Martin Walton and Josh. I don't know what Josh's last name. Josh Dunn. Because they stood on the side. They stood on the side and scanned. And when a kid did something wrong, he'd say, hey, next time, okay, fine. Ant's example, I love you said that one. Kids dribbling with his head down. I also heard a lot of other coaches, pass the ball. Martin's instruction was, put your head up. Get your head up, give him a technical, give him something technical and let him make the decision.
Mark, on that, just to share this, the most common intervention I make in training is a series of questions around that. And I just want to share it because I think a lot of people will benefit from it and probably all already do it, but it's the guided discovery thing which we'll have to start doing with the younger ones. So quite often in training, we've all been there, we've done another 10th session, what they want to score, because they associate success with scoring. And they don't pass ahead. And obviously you want them to pass ahead, but we don't want to tell them to pass ahead because it takes the decision away. So what I'll do more and more, and Martin is a disciple of this from being with us at Cardinal, is to say who's in front of you. And if they can't answer who was in front of them, then they didn't lift their head up. How do you not know who was in front of you? I didn't lift my head. What are you going to do next time? I'm going to lift my head. So it's having that patience. Yeah. And I've said this before, like, and it's all due respect to the qualified coaches we've got, because we've got some excellent coaches, excellent leaders of young people. There's another way of putting it. But when I put a parent in charge of the 10s team, I sometimes prefer to do that than putting a basketball player in, or a Steve Mercer, because all they do is they attach their knowledge of basketball, what they think they should see, to what 8-year-olds can't do.
It was a note I made when we went around the room, why did the coach to pass on our knowledge?
Well,
so
that's
we're
the
only
point.
passing on our knowledge.
But we shouldn't be afraid. But when they say to me, I've never coached a basketball team before, the usual response, and they think I'm joking, is you're exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah. Have you done a kids' party before?
Because
that's what we need.
Child-centered and knowing the kid and what makes them tick and giving them that autonomy And I think we've got to be more
And I
geared
think
towards that, I think.
when we talk about that emotional side, it encompasses all of that stuff. It's their emotions, it's your emotions, it's how you affect them. But I'll be totally honest, guys, and I'll never lie to you. I'll bet, and has nailed it. I wrote the note down, I think I put it in the newsletter as well. The best coaches are CVL are the ones who haven't played. Well, the best coaches in CVL were the ones who don't have a huge player background. And I'll be honest. Because they don't care about pick and rolls, and they don't care about this technique and that technique to help side defense. They care about supporting the kids. They care about doing all those things. And I think it's actually a little too much knowledge sometimes. I've got that note for mine. It's never a bad time to go back to basics, or even better yet, just keep them alive. Don't go away from them. I'm going to move on, guys. I'm conscious of time. Next one is complaining. We had a lot of. I'm not talking about refs. I'm not talking about refs. That's a whole separate thing. I'm talking about complaining to the child, complaining to the player. What are you doing? Why have you done that? Why didn't you shoot it? Why didn't you pass? That's a rhetorical question. You're not asking it. You're not. We did a lot. What are you? Oh, come on! Wow! You at least hit the rim with the shot. That type of ridiculous stuff. We're complaining at the kid. Now, if you go back, why do you coach? Why do they play? And what will they remember? They'll remember that. They'll remember feeling small. They'll remember in front of all these people, someone making a comment to them. They'll remember that. They will not remember the good piece of footwork they did in the second quarter. They'll remember that stuff. And how we treat them, like we can't be like that all the time with them. I mean, I'm talking about, this is the obvious stuff. Now, what will they remember? They remember the high five you give them when you come off. They remember saying, great job, well done. Okay, why did that work so well? Oh yeah, I saw him and I made that pass because he was running ahead. I'll make that weekend. Okay, so this is the stuff they remember. It's the stuff I'll keep them going next week. Next one, commentating on the games. Okay, there'll come a point in higher, older games. There comes a point where you have to do this. Okay, last night I was looking for a tactical solution to an emotional problem. Okay, the players weren't locked in. And last night I basically read the freaking scout report. I'm calling Bristol's plays before their coach is calling their plays. I know what's coming next. I'm screaming what's coming next. You need to defend this now. Why? Because that's people's livelihood. Okay? But what we get a lot of is, Frank, you had a great conversation about this, naming a player. Liam, go there! Decision not made by Liam. If he does go there next time, accidental hero, he doesn't know why he went there. Went there because you told him to go over there. Liam, pass ahead. Liam, help side under the basket. No, sorry, Liam, you're not blowing all these errors. It's not all you. Okay? But naming the kids, do this now, do that now. Now you come here and you go there. They haven't stepped forward that week. They haven't moved forward. They've taken instruction and done what you've told them, but so does a robot. He's got to go play PlayStation. That'll do exactly. When you say left, it'll go left. Okay? But those kids haven't made a decision yet. They haven't made a decision, they haven't taken it upon themselves, they haven't necessarily given a chance to fail, never mind be a success. Okay? So we commentate right through the games. Okay? To this last one, the spotlight. Okay? And I've done all these, by the way, guys, as well. At CVL, years back, I've done them all. The spotlight. Okay? When we show this stuff on the sideline, it's putting us in the spotlight. Okay? And let's say, who's willing to be honest? Anyone want to be real honest right now? And do you mind? Because I know you don't mind this stuff.
Oh, no,
We have an honest chat. When you're on the sideline, are you aware of parents watching?
You're always aware. I think the older you get, you're able to put it in a lot more perspective, and you basically, it's as if they're not there. But I've actually said this to Frank, who is accepted, I think he was overzealous in his involvement emotionally at the game where they twatted Wickham by about 50.
Is that 6 bottles of water? So it must have been worn out from that today, I don't know.
I relate as you do to the young coach who is in a situation where you're not a parent yourself and you don't have kids and you're feeling the responsibility from a club culture, which has got a strong development pathway, such as the Griffins, to be a certain coach, and I think that has more of an influence on the younger coaches, the parents do, than probably the older ones,
Yeah.
in terms of how they conduct themselves. And also the casual coaches who aren't part of the foundation doing this type of thing enough, maybe can't see the bigger picture around how all of these clubs are basically one big organic lobule, if you like.
Yeah.
And we're all under the same umbrella, so we all have to conduct ourselves pretty much in
And
the
I
same.
think, I'm not talking
I hope that answers your question.
but as far as being aware, parents are watching. There's a guy called Chris Cushing at North He's an interesting one. Why the coach is helicopter coach? You call follow the kids around, do this. Okay, why do we do that? Why are we always over the top? Why are we commentating? Why are we narrating on the whole game? And one of the things they came up with was to be seen to be coaching.
Yeah, that's true.
To be seen to be coaching. Because if you're not on the practice floor screaming and shouting, cones everywhere, doing all this, you're not coaching.
Yeah.
But someone making that judgment, we have to understand, is an uneducated person in coaching.
Mm-hmm.
They might be the best lawyer or the best doctor in the country, but they don't know what coaching is.
Yeah.
Okay?
Such a great point, Matt.
We are worried about someone saying they're not coaching.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The best coaching stance you can have.
Yeah.
Good job. Yeah. And scanning and watching it, and you look at it and you go, "Coach isn't doing anything." Okay.
But that's precisely what we want to do with the kids.
Exactly. Yeah.
The more we're doing, the less, as you say, decisions.
Yeah.
And the stance middle of the court. So in training, I'll never have my coaches follow the ball. When the referee in the game and put on one court, the temptation is follow the ball.
Yeah.
Halfway line, hands behind your back, move in. You're more effective when you move in, and you can get back out of the way.
And I think
So
we're
we
aware of
intervene.
the spotlight on us.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the most dangerous things. Am I seen to be coaching? The more malicious side of that is, which some people are, some people aren't, is look at me, I'm coaching. Okay? Look at me, look what I'm doing, I'm part of winning this. And that's the worst part of it, because you set yourself up a treat when you lose the first game. Okay? Because if it's me, and then you lose, it's you. Okay, if that's, you don't want to die on that hill. So the spotlight is a really difficult one, okay? Because you are in charge and you have a responsibility, but I look back at sometimes, I look back at some of my recent games, years ago as well, and I'm quite embarrassed by how I went on the court. I had a referee, high-level Spanish referee in the middle of an important under-18s game, stopped the whole game, walked 90 feet to come and see me, and he pointed at me and went, "You are on the court," and the whole gym started laughing. I stepped back and get off the court, and it was embarrassing. The whole gym in a 4-point game or something in a crucial time, and I'd emotionally lost it, and I'm screaming and I'm shouting and all this stuff, okay? And for me, at that time, I probably enjoyed the spotlight, okay? But we can't, the spotlight cannot take us away from the fact that we've got to let kids play basketball. Okay, it's not about us, hugely not about us.
Sorry, I think that can transcend into training, it's probably more so with games. I think in training, like I've always said, I believe once a month you should have a games night. And I've done it every single month I've been in the job. Once a month, you do nothing but play
I
games.
kind of disagree a little bit on it, because kids don't learn in 2-hour blocks once a month, they learn in 20-minute blocks every week.
No, I get that,
You know what I mean? Let's get the
but
games
more
as
freedom,
much as
that's
possible.
what I'm saying. When there's 2v2, 3v3.
Have a coach's silent night, maybe, but as much as
along
we
those
can.
lines.
But anyway, guys, it's just some things now. I'm going to send this out, you guys. I'm conscious of time, but we're getting to that point now. But this is what I saw. This is what I saw. Okay, and I saw some good stuff within all of these things as well. I saw the Wickham player in particular. I remember that. I saw a couple of Griffins with good shooting. I saw a good shooting competency. The ball, the 2K, what was the team? I've got the notes written down anyway. I've seen it. I've seen it done very well. Okay. But I would say what I haven't seen is the 5th and 6th best player doing it very well. Okay, and that's what we need to get to. Coaches, I've seen the good stuff, I'll give you examples. Okay, but I've seen the bad stuff too. I've seen the stuff we need to get rid of immediately and flush it and go away. Okay, it is there. And when I go back to that slide, we have everything we need. Everything. We have the best in the country. We've got all the raw materials. Me and Jack went to CVL, he was focused on writing kids' names down who have good body types, okay? And he's just like, you've got better body types than we have in Zaragoza. That's where he's from, that's where he was coaching. And we've got loads of them. We've got athletes, we've got a facility, we've got the biggest CVL, the most complete player pathway in the country, we've got everything we need. We've got to get out of our own way. Okay, that's the biggest thing. I was going to finish with this guy, but I'm not because of the time, okay? And what shouldn't we be focusing on these, okay? That's probably something I'm going to put out on the next email, and we'll talk about these things. And there might be a chance to go back and forth a little bit with that. One thing I do want to say, when we talked about France, I sent a link in the last email to the mini Copa, which is under 14 Spanish basketball. We're starting to get towards performance for that. In Spain, before under 14s, we don't play 5v5 at all. Certainly in practice, you will do competitively, but in practice, don't play 5v5, play 3-on-3. Okay? You want to work on anything, you can work out in 3v3. Okay? All those small little games, you know, what should and shouldn't we be doing? We don't need 5v5. We don't need offenses. We don't need trapping defenses. We don't need pick and roll. You know what, is changing. Because you know what, pick and roll, what happens more in a modern game, pick and roll or a jump stop, pick and roll, times 10. No one jump stops anymore. Doesn't happen. Okay? We like to teach you jump stop on the line, pivot, dribble this way, like Pac-Man, you know. Don't jump stop again. It doesn't happen anymore. Everyone stops with a strike, stop. Pass off the dribble, don't need to stop. It's quicker. Okay? So pick and roll will come in. But for sure, teaching things in 3v3, more chance to have the ball in your hands, more chance to work with those individual skills, more shots, you know, smaller spaces, use the best spacing within that small space, that type of thing. Okay? That's about it, fellas, everyone for tonight. I must be scouting report boys. The Keith Ricken thing is an interesting one. If anyone wants, I'll put it on the next newsletter as a link. But it's very interesting. It talks about athlete-centered, or the person-centered, probably even better than that. The person-centered approach